So like Paul said, we just wanted to spend a little time today. Really, this is the third of 3 presentations talking about the National Unified Goal for TIM and our efforts over the last 6 months now to update that. So today we're really going to focus on the strategies, but the last time we talked about this was back in August. So I thought it would be helpful if we at least gave everybody a quick overview of where we are and where we're going. So for those of you that aren't aware, the original National Unified Goal, or NUG for TIM, was responder safety, safe quick clearance, and prompt, reliable, interoperable communications. And that's been around since I want to say 2005. So, and we thought it was time to take a look at it, and we did get people's input through Talking Tim and some other channels, and we decided we wanted to revise the goal. It's minimal changes, but it's a little bit different. So we wanted to update it to that the TIM NUG is a commitment. So we made sure we added that commitment word at the beginning. And then we expanded the second one to be the safety of responders and all road users. So we expanded that to include all road users. The second one we kept the same. The feedback we got was that was a good solid goal. So we kept safe quick clearance. And then the last one we just simplified a little bit, and we went back to the 3 C's, and we went with communication, coordination, and cooperation. So our first question and our first round of requesting your guys' input was really to get to this spot where we are here. And then at the second time we presented, we looked at the NUG framework itself. So there were the 3 objectives that we just talked about. And then there were a total of 18 strategies to support that goal. And so on the second meeting, we really focused on the 6 cross-cutting strategies that were previously identified. And so the original strategies are here in black. And then we made some minor updates that we were suggesting, and you can kind of see that in blue. So the first one we expanded to be TIM partnerships and programs, or we were asking input on this one. And then we also wanted some input on the third one, talking about goals and performance, and do we want to also kind of focus on data collection, analysis, and reporting. So we did a Mentimeter for that, and I just have the results to share with you guys real quick. So for that first cross-cutting strategy, we had a couple suggestions, one being let's just keep it the same, TIM partnerships and programs, or do we also want to add the word coalition in there and have that be part of it? So ultimately we went with this second one because we had a higher voting there, and we just added, we're talking about those coalitions, and that's the phrase we've been using, committees, task force, there's a lot of things people call it. We've just kind of chosen to use the word coalition. And then the second question we asked was about that strategy 3, which was originally goals for performance and progress. And then we said, do we want to replace that with data collection, analysis, and reporting, or should we just keep both? Should we highlight the need to set goals and then also to get the data to support them and do analysis and reporting? And so overwhelming, everybody thought, let's go ahead and add that. So that's what you saw there. And then we had just done a little bit of a word cloud, asking for people what they thought might be missing from the cross-cutting strategies. And in a second, we'll get to how we integrated that into the cross-cutting strategies. So as I mentioned before, in addition to those 6 cross-cutting strategies, there were 12 additional strategies that were broken down by the old objectives. And you can see here, they were pretty specific, talking about things like the move over or slow down law, talking about awareness. For safe quick clearance, we were talking about procedures, response and clearance time goals, making sure that resources were available 24/7. And then for prompt, reliable, interoperable communications, we got very specific in some of these, talking about the different networks and broadband and emergency communication systems. So these are some pretty detailed strategies. So what we wanted to ask everybody today and talk about was really looking at, do we need to maintain those specific strategies, or can we update and enhance the cross-cutting strategies to make sure that everything is incorporated, and then have a more succinct list of strategies. So I'm going to just quickly kind of go through, so you can see up here where we had already integrated the coalitions, and then we added this fourth one, right? We kept the goals for performance and progress, and then we added data collection, analysis, and reporting. So we already made those changes. And then some of the additional changes we're proposing are in orange. And so really what we looked at, for example, recommended practices for responder safety, we really think that ends up being covered by this overarching goal of having multidisciplinary TIM practices, policies, and procedures. So rather than call that out under each objective, we thought that could probably just be one of the cross-cutting strategies. And then the one that we added to the list down here at the bottom is, we were specifically talking about move over laws in the past. And really, we think we shouldn't be so specific, right? It's just as important to promote driver removal, authority removal legislation as well. So as a cross-cutting one, we thought we could just add expansion and enforcement of TIM laws in general, rather than specifically talking about move over laws. And then talking about driver training and awareness, again, we think that can just be incorporated into number 7, which is existing, with adding the word outreach, talking about awareness, outreach, and education partnerships. So that's how we were trying to integrate the objectives specific to responder safety into the cross-cutting. And I'm just going to go through a couple more. We did the same thing. We really looked at these objectives for safe quick clearance, and it's the same thing. 10 is really already covered. If you look at 6, where we're talking about those multidisciplinary procedures, response and clearance time goals, really that probably already falls under goals for performance and progress, and is measured through number 4. And then 24/7 availability, again, really specific, that we didn't feel that necessarily had to be called out on its own. And we went through that similar thing looking at the last 6 objectives that were related to communications. And a lot of it all goes back to having those practices, policies, and procedures in place. So again, ultimately, we thought we could replace all of these other 12 objectives just by having a little bit of an expansion, and again, being more succinct and having these 8 strategies that we could focus on. So what we'd like to do next is get everybody's input into whether or not, how they think that would work. So we have a Mentimeter set up. And so you can either go to menti.com, or I also have put in the chat, there's a direct link. And then I'm just going to share my other screen real quick. So this is the first question. Again, we'll give people just a quick second to, oops, sorry. I am sharing the wrong screen, so I'm just going to share the results with you guys instead of the questions themselves. So the question, again, we're asking, again, what do you guys think? Should we go ahead and streamline and keep that expanded list of strategies? So it would be the 8 that we were just looking at. Should we maintain some of those goal specific ones in addition to the cross-cutting. And then we recognize that there's plenty of people out there that this may be the first time you're looking at the NUG, and there's certainly nothing wrong with just not voting this time. So I know we have quite a few people out there, so I'd love to see us get at least up over 50, maybe even 60 with everybody's input.
Let's go, everybody. It's easy. Click on the link and put the number in that Katie had. See the number up top of your screen. Don't be like me and be lazy about it. Thanks very much. There go those numbers. There we go. We appreciate. We want to be say that you took part in adjusting the NUG, and so you took and taking part in this national goal. So keep. There's other questions, a couple more questions coming. So if you can, let's go. Connect. Participate. Sorry, Katie.
No, that's great. That's great. So I'm just going to give it another 15 seconds. We're kind of neck and neck. We're seeing both some support for streamlining it and some that would like to see that us keep those state specific, or I'm sorry, goal specific strategies. All right, so let's go ahead and then move to the second. Sorry. So, all right, so now we just have a really simple question of, are there strategies that we were looking at that are missing that you think you guys would like to see added? And this is just a word cloud for people to add information to. So. Share what we're looking at, what we're seeing from people. So, and I appreciate everybody's feedback. Again, it means a lot more when we have a lot of people getting input into that. So thank you guys. And we have been focusing, I know Joe just talked about that, and looking at EDC-7 and making sure that we're focusing in on and highlighting our relationships with EMS. So I think that's a great comment to look at a way that maybe we integrate that in as well. Something about all of the partnerships. That's a good, another one. We did put this together before we really started focusing on the National Roadway Safety and Strategy. So that's another great suggestion. Thank you guys. All right, and that'll stay open. So, you know, as you're thinking through things, please go ahead and type it in there. And then also, we just have one other question we're going to ask in a second, but feel free to use the chat pod if you think of something after we close the Mentimeter. So. All right, Paul, did you have anything else you wanted to add about the NUG itself before we go on to the next question?
No, I just, you know, I think we are going to start using the NUG more, maybe even kick off these webinars with the National Unified Goal at the very least. Don't need to go through the strategies every time, but we encourage you to use it. It was popular years ago, and to some it's still being used. I don't know that it's used, so we do think it has a place as we try to quote unquote sell our program and sell traffic incident management. So it's the only really thing. We're going to take all this information under advisement, right, Katie, and then make a decision. But no, I think suggest not using the NUG, Mr. Jack Sullivan suggested. So boy, everyone's been calling it the NUG for so many years, Jack. That's the only thing. And I hate to Google it. Okay, we'll Google it, but so many people just refer to it the NUG.
Well, and I think that there's also some discussion is, once we solidify this, taking a look at some of the things like the TIM self-assessment, and just making sure we're consistent and asking about the same things and using the same terminology throughout. So that'll help with it as well, I think.
Yeah. It's hard. I just want to. Jack wants us to change, and it's awful hard to change, but we will definitely start doing that, Jack.
All right. So switching gears a little bit, and thank you everybody again. We really appreciate your participation and giving us this input. We did want to just follow up with one more question. So I think hopefully everybody is aware that Crash Responder Safety Week is the second week in November. And a big part of that is requesting that the states put out a proclamation. So what you can see here is we have the map showing the states that we know did a proclamation, and then the ones in blue are the ones where we received a copy of the proclamation, and then the states in yellow are ones that we were pretty sure were planning to do a proclamation. And I think what Jim is looking for is just confirmation that that those states did it, and then a copy of the proclamation. So and then anybody we're missing, we would love to know that you guys did that, and we'd love to have copies, and that's all information that will help, looking at 2023. So we just have another quick opportunity for, if your state was successful in getting that governor's proclamation, please enter your state in your email. And if you have a copy of that proclamation, Jim would love to get his hands on that. So Vishali, did I miss anything there?
No, perfect.
Okay. Yeah, so please, and same thing, if it's easier to put it into the chat, feel free to do it there as well. So.
And for Tony, thank you so much. We did see a news article for the Minnesota Governor's Proclamation, but we couldn't find a physical PDF copy of that proclamation. So if you could share that with us, that would be great.